Okay, good morning, Regents. If you are with us, please turn on your camera so we can see who all is attending today. I'm going to call this workshop meeting of the Board of Regents of Del Mar College to order at 10:30 a.m. It's Tuesday, December 8th. We are meeting by video and teleconference. Due to our continued COVID-19 restrictions, we have made available for members of the public to listen or view this meeting as with toll-free numbers and meeting access numbers. I am going to call the roll. I see Regent Hutchison, Regent Bennett, Regent Averett, Regent Sherwood, Regent Agami. Do we have Regent Salinas? Do we have any other regents on the line?
I'm here.
Oh, hello, Regent Garza.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Any other regents on the line?
I'm here.
Is that Nick? Yes. Okay, we have a quorum and can conduct business. If you would all please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you can mute your mics unless you're speaking, that would be really helpful for all participants, please. Now, please join me in reading the Del Mar College Vision Statement. Del Mar College will be the premier choice for life-changing educational opportunities provided by responsive, innovative faculty and staff who empower students to improve local and global communities. Del Mar College is streaming live audio and video from the official Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with the exception of portions of the meeting considered as closed session by statute. Mr. President, did we have any public comments for this workshop session?
There are none, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Our only item for discussion today during this workshop is related to a topic that the board requested during our planning retreat last spring, a strategic enrollment and marketing plan. I'm going to ask Dr. Escamilla to provide some opening comments before we turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Today's presentation for our workshop is around a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is enrollment management, enrollment services, and the like. I'd like to, again, always on the front end, thank the staff for putting this presentation, it's got a lot of detail in it, together. It's taken some time, and I appreciate the efforts to this point, and certainly I'm sure we're going to have a great presentation and sharing of data and information. I want to qualify this by saying this particular presentation that the strategic enrollment management plan per se is in development. The presentation for today's purposes is to present all that we've been putting together in the way of services to bring on students, to both recruit and reach out through outreach to students. And we've defined those as distinctly two different processes, and since I started in higher ed, that's been the case, and that's just the way things are divided. Well, of course, we're always very focused on keeping the ones we have, our students that we have first, and then eventually, and then doing everything we can to bring in those students who are seeking our services. Added to today's conversation is our marketing plan. And so we're going to talk about not just how we advise, retain, and recruit students, but we're going to talk about how we get out there and market to them and what we've been doing. Of course, Lorette Williams has been with us for a relatively short period of time, and she and her team have been doing just tremendous amount of work getting out there and bringing that continuity of marketing to the colleges you've seen all over the community. And so we're going to combine these two enterprises here at the college and talk about all the things we're doing. Keeping in mind that the reason why the plan per se that will be coming to you probably early to mid next fall is because it has largely to do with where we are with our South Campus and in preparation for the recruitment the recruitment and marketing efforts for that. And so we're really getting ready to tie all those processes together into a cohesive and comprehensive strategic enrollment management plan that will also accompany our marketing plan for all aspects of our district. Madam Chair, those are my opening comments, and Dr. Rito Silva, I think, is going to kick us off. But that's all I have to say. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Dr. Silva.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Regents, President Escamilla. For today's workshop, Ms. Patricia Dominguez, Associate Vice President of Student Affairs, and Ms. Lorette Williams, the Executive Director of College Relations, and I can review our mission and goals as it relates to enrollment, the impact of COVID nationally, and discuss our current enrollment strategies with an emphasis on persistence and recruitment of targeted populations. Please, next slide. At the end of our presentation, the College Relations Marketing Plan will also be discussed, how they support our strategies, and we'll also be discussing future rebranding efforts. Next slide, please. The college's mission and goals in our strategic enrollment management represents the college as a whole. Every facet of the college's operation supports retention and recruitment in some way, and it is very much a collaborative effort. We have become laser focused on our strategic plan, and we have geared our enrollment management plan on achieving the strategic goals of completion, persistence, and recruitment. Next slide, please. COVID has interrupted many of the enrollment plans of colleges and universities nationally and across the state of Texas. Recent articles featured in Inside Higher Education publication highlighted how community colleges have been the most vulnerable, and community colleges with a large minority enrollment have seen the biggest decline. At Del Mar College, we were able to implement some strategies to reduce the enrollment decline first reported. The strategies are highlighted in this next slide. Next slide, please. Our response to COVID included offering a full-scale virtual assistance both remotely and in person. Our advisors, staff, and faculty are available to students by phone, video conference appointments, and when appropriate, in person. During the fall 2020 registration period, we offered a face-to-face assistance where students were able to speak to our departments by signing up in our Viking app and come into the Harvin Center to speak to our departments and getting assistance for registration. All safety protocols were in place, including the use of plexiglass and social distancing when meetings were held in person. As reported in the October enrollment report, the college increased the number of flex courses in fall 2020 to accommodate our students. Facebook Live events, like the screenshot on the slide you're seeing right now, were also offered. These live workshops feature presentations in admissions and financial aid. And lastly, one of the first features of our new ERP includes a chat feature on our admissions webpage. It's going to help students navigate the college admissions process. Next slide, please. This is our DMC student profile. It is important for us to keep in mind the profile of our students. According to our demographic data, our typical student at Del Mar College is a 24-year-old Hispanic female, taking 7 hours, and who is eligible for financial aid and works part-time. Next slide, please. As Dr. Escamilla said, we're going to discuss recruitment and outreach. So before we review some of the recruitment and outreach practices, we thought we would define each in order to add some context and clarity. Recruitment is a process of searching for prospective students and having them register for a class at an institution. Whereas outreach is the college's effort to offer services and activities and engage the community as a whole to create a college-going culture. Next slide, please. DMC recruitment examples. We could fill many slides of recruitment practices at Del Mar College. This slide is just a small example of what faculty and staff at all the different divisions offer. From traditional annual programs like Discover Del Mar, which averages close to 1,000 high school students visiting our West Campus every year, to our annual High School Counselor Expo, which we had virtually this year with 77 participants, where we updated high school counselors on our current programs and testing policies. And also, the staff offers several presentations at local high schools to discuss dual credits, financial aid, and services such as disability accommodations. Next slide, please. Here are some of our outreach examples. Del Mar College is also committed in creating a college-going culture in our community. One of our greatest ambassadors to our community has been Valdar. Just in the fall of 2019, Valdar has visited over 20 elementary and middle schools, as well as making appearances at various community events, such as the Harbor Lights Festival last year. Our faculty and staff are also wonderful ambassadors for the college. They host and at times judge UIL events on campus, make presentations at several civic clubs, and offer a variety of services to the community, such as free haircuts when students are going back to school, to offering dental services throughout the year to our community. Next slide, please. A definition of persistence. Like Dr. Escamilla said, keeping our current students is a foundational element of any key strategic enrollment management plan. Thus, we are going to start with persistence strategies when we begin discussing our enrollment priorities later in this presentation. Persistence is a key component in our strategic plan. Goal number 2 in our strategic plan emphasizes the need for the college to provide resources to support our students' continuous enrollment until completion of their educational goals. The definition of persistence, as defined by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, is the rate at which students persist in higher education, which is often measured by the percentage of students who continue in higher education from one year to the succeeding year. Next slide, please. Some examples of our current practices in persistence. There are several persistence practices that occur throughout the campus by faculty and staff. This slide is, again, just a small example of the tremendous work being done internally. A key program supporting persistence is our academic rescue program. Retention case managers outreach to all students who are on academic probation before each semester to come up with an individual success plan. The case managers keep track of these students throughout the semester to make sure they stick to that plan. Recapture or retention alert programs allows faculty members to submit students' names for having trouble in class to our retention office, where again our retention case managers reach out to them to assist them and provide them resources to stay in school and successfully complete their courses. Enrollment Services also sponsors registration rallies to encourage students to register early for the upcoming semester. These rallies consist of advising assistance, financial aid information, and t-shirt giveaways. Faculty and staff also reach out to students several times during a semester to remind them of all the financial aid resources available to them, including scholarships, daycare, and financial aid. Recorded messages by divisions are sent out to students to re-enroll before they leave the current semester, and they put them in contact with their appropriate advisors. Currently, our veteran services are contacting veteran students who enrolled in 2019 and in spring 2020, but have not registered, and they're offering assistance for them to register for our spring 2021 semester. Next slide, please. The goal, like Dr. Escamilla said, is to have our completed strategic enrollment management plan by fall 2021. We'll be using the processes outlined in the Ruffalo Noah Levitt's book, which is written by the premier strategic enrollment management experts in the nation. Most major universities and colleges use their process to establish their own SEM protocols. Ruffalo Noah Levitt wants an institution to have a well-established strategic plan in place to begin the alignment of the strategic enrollment management plan to build on. As you will see in this presentation, our current enrollment strategies and soon to come, our strategic enrollment management plan are closely aligned with our 2019-2024 strategic plan. Now, I'll hand it over to Ms. Dominguez to discuss our persistence and retention strategies.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. Next slide, please. Paramount in our strategic plan is completion. The next 3 goals will highlight persistence. It is also the key component in our student success point funding calculation. Our strategies for this group includes a Civitas Nudge campaign for students with 45 or more hours with no degree within the last 2 years. Students with a 2.0 GPA or better will be outreached by a graduation coach. Students with less than 2.0 GPA will be referred to retention services for outreach. Additionally, the college has 31 SENDA faculty advisors that will be assigned a cohort by major. The advisors will have a script to make sure all available services, resources are mentioned to students. Next slide, please. Our new ERP, Anthology Campus Management, is going to play a big role in our strategic enrollment plan. It will feature the ability for students to track their progress to graduation. It will feature the ability, as you see on this screenshot, students will be able to see the credits they have taken, what hours are needed for completion. This tool will help the advisor and the student properly register for the next class and minimize excessive classes taken. Next slide, please. Our second targeted population is to make more sophomores. As the title implies, the goal is to convert our freshman students to sophomore status by having a Civitas Nudge campaign for students with 16 to 29 hours. This campaign will also lead our student enrollment office and academic departments. The Guided Pathway Initiative will help us make sure students are on the right track and put them in contact with the appropriate embedded advisor. Next slide, please. Encouraging students to not only enroll in the correct courses, but enrolling full-time when appropriate will be crucial to this strategy. Advisors will have a script detailing students how they can become full-time. 8-week courses will be encouraged for students. Surveys from 8-week students conducted in 2020 indicate a strong preference in 8-week courses. In spring 2020, 89% of the students surveyed said they would take another 8-week course. And fall 2020, 82% of students said they would take another 8-week course. Additionally, Ad Astra is the nation's leading academic planning resource company and will be used to analyze our course scheduling practices to assure our course offerings and times are strategically aligned with the needs of the students so that they are more apt to take a full load. Next slide, please. Our efforts in establishing a benchmark of the number of dual credit students matriculating to DMC is critical. Most institutions do not measure this data set. Our goal is to increase the number of dual credit students coming to DMC from 34 to 45% by 2024. The strategies we will use is to work with high school counselors to make sure we keep students on their endorsement path in high school and convert that path into DMC's guided pathway seamlessly and without losing any credit hours. Early college programs annually shares the listing of the students with the Student Enrollment Center to begin making contact. Outreach to this population will be early spring of their senior year to see where they are in their program of study to determine if they are transfer or completing their degree certificate. Students will be encouraged to finish out their degree or certificate or complete core at DMC before transferring to the university. Additionally, the advisors of early college programs will outreach to senior parents to explain the value of completing core courses at DMC before moving on to a university. Next slide, please.
Ms. Dominguez, do you mind if I ask a question on that
Sure.
previous slide?
Sure.
Are students required in our dual credit program to fill out a FAFSA?
No, that is not until next year. That's House Bill 3, and that goes into effect next year. So that will also be part of a strategy that we will develop later on.
Dean Dominguez, define next year.
The next academic school year, by fall, the House Bill 3 says that by the beginning fall 21-22 school year, that high school seniors upon exit of high school will need to complete the FAFSA.
Yes. So it's the fall graduating class of 2021 as the first class that leads us into that law with HB 3 that requires them to fill out the FAFSA.
Is that a strategy that we could start piloting this spring with our dual credit students? So there was a recent article about the decline of high school students who were filling out the FAFSA because of the lack of face-to-face interaction from either counselors or colleges and universities. So I'm wondering if we have an audience of dual credit students, is that a group we could start working with virtually to make sure that at least those students have their FAFSA completed?
Dr. Silva, tell us about
Certainly.
the strategy that we already have in place for that. So we've with that outreach position in financial aid.
Absolutely, yes, Dr. Escamilla, correct. Well, last year, the board approved an additional position, and we hired an high school outreach individual in the financial aid office. And yes, ma'am, Chairman Scott, she'll be concentrating on that population.
Wonderful.
Yep, that's been in place. It's that position it was suggested in a it wasn't approved necessarily, Dr. Silva, but I just want to make that little nuanced correction there. But it was a position that was brought up, and actually it was Coach Salinas that brought it up some time ago about reaching out, and so we took that in, looked at our data, and as we rebuilt our budget and we're bringing on specific positions, that was an area that we sought to bring so that we can expand our outreach, and they will be focusing in on those dual credit students. That is a sweet spot of ours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And currently that position does already coordinate with the dual credit coordinators and the advisors in the Student Enrollment Center.
Yes. Yes. Sir. Thank you, Dean Dominguez.
The next slide, please. Okay. Now we will discuss the next 3 goals of recruitment. The Student Enrollment Center receives weekly missing document listing of students who have submitted and applied Texas but still are missing information to be eligible for registration. Such missing documents may be high school or college transcripts, meningitis, TSI scores. The Student Enrollment Center will conduct strategic communication points, which includes personal phone calls and emails to this population to encourage them to attend and let them know of the resources available to them. Next slide, please. DMC will increase the number of local high school students attending DMC by acquiring the names of students taking the ACT exam in their junior and senior year, and acquired list from local high schools of their seniors to strategically reach out to them by using Anthology's new customer relations management system called Engage. The new system will allow DMC to strategically communicate with the targeted population at different touch points and track their progress from prospectus to enrolled. The communication methods will be emails, text, and personal phone calls. Next slide, please. DMC's Continuing Education Department will partner with the Workforce Solutions of Coastal Bend to identify individuals that may be unemployed or furloughed to enroll in DMC's continuing education short-term career training programs that focus on career pathways such as business, construction trades, healthcare, pipeline, computer science, and welding. Continuing Ed will incorporate short-term training programming through DMC's Adult Learning Department to all students seeking their high school equivalency. The department will also work with area business and industry, community governmental agencies, and literacy councils to promote continuing education short-term training programming opportunities. Are there any questions on this portion of the presentation?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is the new ERP system up and working?
We are still in production of that.
So there is one component. It's the community. It's the the customer relations aspect of it. The CRM, customer relations management portion, is up and running. That is the first phase. We are currently building the phase that Dean Dominguez is talking about, Mr. Bennett.
Okay, and in addition to that, you've got a lot of goals here. Do you have measurements of whether they're successful or not?
Yeah, yes, sir, Regent Bennett. Our next process is definitely going to be establishing KPIs for these goals. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, sir,
One other two thoughts, two little tidbits along the way that I think are little important pieces. TACRO was mentioned on the last slide. TACRAO, Texas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, statewide organization, very, very powerful, very, very influential and important to this whole process, and we are tied into that organization. Slide forward, please. These are little nuggets that I just don't want to let go. That's an actual student of ours. That apparatus behind it, that little refinery behind him is ours. We're very proud of that, and I just got to add those little tidbits. This is not a stock cut photo that we brought from the outside. Sorry, just a little proud moment there.
Regent Garza, I see your mic open. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. I'm just, this is great to have these goals, and I know they came out of a workshop that y'all had in the spring. The only thing is that my concern is right now with the challenges we have with COVID-19, both this year and possibly next year, how do we take and measure what challenges or how we address challenges that may have arose from the lack of, I'm going to say, person-to-person instruction? I've gotten a complaint from a gentleman that's got someone in a nursing program, and they're saying they're struggling through I guess, very little instruction being given, high volumes of study materials with little guidance on study. And so they're concerned about student performance. And so my question is, how do we, or when do we determine whether to take a step back and try to get back to where we were versus moving forward?
So, yeah, I'll take the best shot at that as I can, Mr. Garza. We're still in the midst of all this, so that it's hard to, assess and otherwise measure what we're trying to get through in terms of the pandemic and all the things, all the all the steps that we've taken to manage through it all. So that's that way. First of all, let me go back. That person, if there's a question, if there's a specific name and so forth, send it to me, and we'll have that one addressed, and I'll get that to the appropriate area of instruction to assist that person. But to answer your question, when do we take a step back? We've got to get through this first. We're in the height, and you're going to hear me talk about this a little bit later. We're in the height of flu season that's going to be complicating things. We think we're on the back end. We all want to return to the way we're doing business last year this time, absolutely, as quickly as possible. But we've got to be, and we're just moving ahead and being as careful as we can. This isn't the first time that one of the regents has asked, one of you all as regents, I can't remember who it was, but that, how do we assess what's going on? Frankly, we have to get through it and have a complete beginning, middle, and an end to measure. So we're waiting for those kinds of things to really see where we are. The students are missing the face-to-face, absolutely. With undoubted, the faculty are missing, the staff are missing, and I don't just mean, emotionally missing, longing for the past. No, it is what is necessary for us. It is what is necessary for us to operate. The preponderance of our instruction relies on face-to-face, and will always rely on face-to-face. So,
Dr. Escamilla, I'm just concerned about, and again, I think we're doing a great job with some of the non-traditional students, the continuing adult learning side of things, maybe even some of the basics. I'm just concerned about some of those programs that have taken a lot of hand-holding and direct contact, and not the social aspect of the person-to-person instruction, but I'm just talking about them reaching a point where the frustration level gets too high that they get discouraged and want to fall out.
I'm on phone calls with people throughout the country, and we're all dealing with the same thing. You're bringing up a good point. At what point do you bring them back? Well, you bring them back at the safest point, is to answer your question, because they are missing that. And
I'm not talking about doing anything different. I'm just talking about being able to, periodically assess where we are with our student population and figure out if there's something we're missing that we might be able to do a little bit better in this type of climate or environment in order to be able to get them through.
I can assure you, well, let me get, I hear what you're saying, and maybe let me answer it this way. I can assure you we're assessing every bit of the way, though not formally, like I was describing with measurements and that kind of thing. We're listening every day, we're meeting every day, we're trying to incorporate the best technology that overcomes this lack of connection. We're listening to the students, we're listening to the faculty. I meet with the faculty council officers, and believe me, I listen to their frustrations, and they were very frustrated last week about some things, and I don't blame them. It has to do with the disconnect. It's a contradiction that the technology connects us and disconnects us at the same time. So let me think more about that, and maybe you and I can chat even more to take a deeper dive into the specifics.
I'd love to do that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not interrupting at all. That's what this is all about. This is the time for that. We make notes when you bring up those suggestions, and we take those deep dives in it, and that's how we get through all this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Regent Hutchison.
If I can follow up what I heard Mr. Garza saying, or what I got out of that, some of that was that are we spreading ourselves too thinly? I guess I would like reassurance that taking on these programs, which I like a lot, and I like the measurements and the goals, but I would like assurance that that's not keeping us from getting kids back in the classroom and giving them that personal attention. Can we do these two things at once?
Yes, ma'am. And so if I were to look at it from that standpoint, these are things, that's why I said on the front end that these are not just aspirational things. These are the things that we've been doing. And again, we're going to compile all these, synthesize these, and put these into a plan per se next year. The plan is really synthesized. It was coming anyway. It wasn't. It was actually delayed because of COVID. Again, these are all things that we're doing on a regular basis already, and these are day-to-day operations.
And again, we can continue to do without sacrificing the basic instruction.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, everybody's yes, ma'am. And I think we're doing. I think we're doing good, and we're doing the best we can. I think at this point.
Thank you.
Ms. Averett?
Yes, I don't have a question, but just to add a comment, and that is, I really appreciate staff's ability and efforts to continue to do long-range planning and not completely drop all of the initiatives while still addressing the immediacy of the COVID crisis and all the fallout from that. Certainly the temptation would be to just kind of completely divert and only focus on what's immediately in front of us. And I really appreciate that you all are continuing to address COVID very well, but also looking toward the hopefully not too distant future when we'll be able to fully return to campus and continue on. So thank you for those efforts.
Thank you, Regent.
Anything else on this portion of the presentation? Thank you, Regents.
Okay. I will hand over the presentation to Ms. Lorette Williams to discuss how CRO will support these strategies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Dominguez. And good morning, board members. The College Relations Office works very closely with Student Services and the Office of Admissions and Recruitment. And as Dr. Silva and Dean Dominguez outlined, the several strategies that are used to assist with managing enrollment here at the college, we in College Relations provide direct marketing support for those strategies. So today, I'd like to spend some time reviewing those services and how we work closely with Dr. Silva's team and the Strategic Enrollment Management Committee to promote and market enrollment here at Del Mar. Next slide, please. The college recently went through the process of entering into a contract with Anderson Marketing Group, or AMG for short, and AMG manages the college's broad external enrollment campaigns. These are targeted here in the Corpus Christi metro area. The campaigns are delivered in English and Spanish and are released by semesters. So for example, the spring enrollment campaign is currently underway. You guys may have seen that. It kicked off several weeks ago and it's going to run until mid-January in support of spring enrollment. So as soon as that campaign wraps up, we will begin concepting for the summer campaign in February, as it typically kicks off in late May. So you kind of get an idea here of our campaign timelines, and they typically run year round. Included in those campaigns are digital tactics such as website display ads, search engine marketing, and then of course social media ads on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Also included are ads that are broadcast on local radio and TV stations, and streaming TV and radio ads on services like Spotify, Pandora, podcast. We have some cable TV and even some streaming TV like Roku and Fire Stick that we've put some ads on. We also utilize outdoor billboards, mainly 4 to 6 locations. Those are off SPID and Crosstown, so you may have seen those as well. And I've included here some examples of ads that we used over the summer for a digital campaign that we pushed out in support of continuing education courses. Now, this campaign here was in direct response to the high unemployment rate that we experienced in the area due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And you can see that we were really looking at fast track programs, the healthcare, pointing out no GED, no testing, no problem. So you get the idea here. Next slide, please. In addition to utilizing AMG, the College Relations Office internal staff provide year-round marketing support. So the CRO teams up with staff from admissions and recruitment, specifically on targeted campaigns with custom messaging. And I'm going to provide you a real example of that just a little bit later here in the presentation. But we use directory data to market with the custom messaging to students on Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube. These ads that we design are typically designed for smartphones, computers, and tablets. In addition, we provide website updates. We send targeted direct mail postcards with messaging that reinforces the SEM goals. We use email and text messaging reminders to focus on enrollment and recruitment initiatives and important financial aid or graduation deadlines. We also utilize outdoor digital billboards with custom URLs that we create in-house to landing pages that we've created in support of a particular campaign. We also conduct the search engine marketing. That's the process of buying ads on search engines such as Google, Yahoo, or Bing. And the graphic that you see here, this was actually a graphic that was designed in-house, and it's a banner that's been placed at the La Palmera Mall, and it's going to be there through December. Next slide, please. One of our focuses really is to remain on data-driven marketing and messaging for several reasons. Online marketing allows us to target users based on their search preferences, phone number, email address, age, location, interest. We're able to see data almost instantly, and this allows us to pivot or improve our strategies. The call to action that we have in these campaigns always lead us back to delmar.edu website for information on how to contact an advisor, how to enroll now, driving potential customers always back to our website. So the other part of this is that all of these marketing initiatives are measurable, and that's very important to us. We monitor impressions, and that's the number of times that someone has seen our ads. We monitor clicks, and that represents the number of times someone has actually engaged with our ads. So this chart here, I know it's kind of hard to see, but this is just an example. It showcases the engagement in our one of our social media ads by gender and age group. The impressions figure is the number of times our ad has been seen, and the reach is the unique people that actually viewed that ad. So in this particular case, you can see here that our Facebook ad was seen over 76,000 times by a little over 29,000 people, and mostly in between the ages of 18 to 44. I wanted to just show you this as an example of the data that we do review. Next slide, please. So here, I'd like to share an example. This is an in-house campaign that was created by CRO staff. We were asked by Dr. Silva and his team to create a campaign earlier in the fall that focused on the college's fall 8-week courses. So here we came up with a mini-mester digital campaign. We had paid ads on social, including on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And then we also purchased digital billboard space on SPID and Greenwood. Next slide, please. So the results of the campaign are as follows. We averaged 65 clicks per day over a 30-day period on the DMC mini-mester landing page, with an average time of 2 minutes and 38 seconds spent on that page. So that's really pretty good because the average is usually 1 to 2 minutes on most of our DMC web pages. Remember that an impression is the number of times someone's seen our ads. The click again represents the number of times someone actually engaged with our ads. So on YouTube, our ads for this particular campaign were seen over 87,000 times and just under 60,000 times on Facebook and Instagram. And our digital billboard ad that was displayed, it was displayed 4,300 times, reaching about 48,000 drivers and commuters. So because we're able to monitor the data almost instantly on these digital campaigns, we can tweak our messaging or our graphics to best serve the college. Next slide, please. Okay, so I hope that was helpful in providing you an overview of the ways CRO can provide the marketing support in an effort to increase enrollment and meet the goals outlined by Dr. Silva. But as part of the enrollment management, it is time to begin planning for the opening of our newest campus. So in preparation for this portion of the presentation, I would like to stop and I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Escamilla for introductory comments on this portion.
Thank you, Lorette. Ladies and gentlemen, this is again, as I described in my opening remarks, a key piece of the marketing plan as we move ahead. What will happen which is scheduled to happen in summer 2022, late fall, early summer 2022, is the opportunity for us to begin teaching classes in the main academic building, otherwise known as the STEM building on South Campus. So that timing for us is critical in a lot of ways. And so we're not going to wait for summer 2022. Did I say that right? 2022 to begin planning and communicating the opportunities and services for that. And so Lorette opened this opportunity up to me as we discussed this and prepared this presentation, because I think it's important to realize that there is the beginning of what will be the difference maker in this city in so many ways, not just in way of opening up opportunities, but really growing and reaching out to a whole new generation of students that's been waiting for that campus to be completed. So that being said, there's a strong emphasis on what we're about to talk about next, and Lorette's going to carry us into, because it is a whole different segment. It is the first campus in Corpus Christi, first college campus, new college campus in Corpus Christi in over 60 years. It is a momentous opportunity, and as such, it is going to take, as we've been saying since the bond passed, and even before that, it is going to take a very focused effort to see to it that that campus is properly marketed and communicated for that side of town. Thank you, Lorette.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. Next slide, please. So today, I'd like to share with you the communication and marketing plan for the Southside campus. The purpose of this plan is to market the college's newest campus to potential students, while also strategically utilizing our recruitment and retention practices that we outlined this morning. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have several goals within this plan that will include a phased approach that focus on the following: developing and finalizing a Southside DMC rebranding process, increasing public awareness related to the Southside campus and its course offerings, targeting prospective students with clearly defined recruitment tactics, and then of course the monitoring and feedback and retention efforts. So throughout this plan, you're going to see that we are going to retarget and refine the process as needed. Next slide. As you all know, there is much to market with the new Southside campus. We have 3 centers for excellence focusing on culinary arts and hospitality, architecture and engineering, and biotechnology and STEM. Additionally, we have a host of core courses that we're going to be offering at this location. And the campus, as you probably know, is currently under construction on a 96-acre tract at the corner of Rodfield and Yorktown. If you haven't had the chance to drive by, you should check it out. The progress there on construction is really great. Once completed, it will include over 240,000 square feet of space, and it is anticipated to open in 2022. Next slide, please. So I'd like to review some data that is important to Del Mar College having a presence and providing services at a Southside location. This is just a snapshot of the growth that the Southside and London area are experiencing on an annual basis. This data here is actually provided by the City of Corpus Christi Southside Development Plan and their London Development Plan. It is included on the City of Corpus Christi's website. And as you can see, growth has doubled in the Southside area when compared to annual growth percentages for the remainder of the city. And in the London area, growth is almost 6 times of that compared to the rest of Corpus Christi. Currently, approximately 39% of Del Mar College students live in the Southside area. Next slide, please. So when reviewing data, specifically for marketing purposes, it's important to look at our potential student population for the Southside. The data that I'm sharing here comes from a recent demographic update that was provided to the college by Facility Programming. And the numbers here represent potential students within driving distance from the Southside campus for 2020, and then through a projected number of just over 175,000 into 2030. Our fully operational baseline enrollment goal for the campus is 3,500 students, which is just under 2% of that current Southside student market. Next slide, please. Another potential pocket for recruitment is the overall adult population in our service area. Now, the previous slide reviewed adults within the Southside market, but here we're going to take a broader view. Current data provided by the same Facilities Programming demographic update shows that we have over 465,000 adults living within our entire service area. And we currently serve approximately 2% of the adult population with a median age of 35.5. So one of our enrollment goals is to increase that percentage to 3% for a total of approximately 15,000 students. And of course, that is college-wide. Next slide, please. So I'd like to provide an overall timeline for the implementation of this communications and marketing plan. As I mentioned previously, the plan will be implemented in phases, with phase 1 beginning now and continuing through the summer of 2021. And the focus of this phase, the plan is going to be to develop and finalize the Southside DMC rebranding process. Phase 2 will begin summer of 2021 and will be ongoing until the opening of the campus. This phase will focus on increasing public awareness related to the Southside campus and its course offerings. And then phase 3 begins spring of 2022 and will be ongoing until the opening. This phase will focus on targeting prospective students with clearly defined recruitment tactics. And last is the maintenance phase. This will be in effect once the campus opens and beyond, and will focus on monitoring results. So on the next couple of slides, I'm going to walk us through the details of each of these phases. Next slide, please. All right, phase 1 is a very critical phase, and this is because it focuses on the Southside DMC rebranding process. I'm going to talk more about rebranding and exactly what that means here in a moment, but first, I'd like to review some policy. Currently, the college has existing board policy B3.7 that addresses naming of buildings and other recognition. The policy was most recently revised in May of 2019. And the policy addresses the naming of campuses and complexes, and I've included this following excerpt for your review. It says, campuses and complexes shall not be subject to naming recognition or naming rights, as those collections of facilities are better reserved for geographic, functional, or related descriptions. This policy provides us direction on the categories for naming a campus, and those are identified as geographic, functional, or related descriptions. And we're currently very familiar with the first category, which is geographic, as the college currently has an East Campus and a West Campus. So those are examples of geographic names. The second category, functional, is naming a campus after the function it serves, such as the Workforce Development Center or the STEM campus. Those are just examples. And then the third and final category, which is related descriptions, is a bit more fluid and open to interpretation, as this category could focus on themes. An example would be a Viking theme, or it could take on an inspirational tone, such as, achievement campus, influencer campus, etc. Of course, those are just examples of ideas. So what this phase would lead us through is the development of the rebranding process and the ultimate selection and approval of a final Southside DMC rebrand.
Lorette, can I jump in there?
Sure.
Yep. Regents, what I was going to mention, but I got called for something real quick. This is a part that I did not cover that I wanted to cover with you. This opportunity, again, was something that we were heading into last spring with, and we're going to develop the momentum. Even then, I think last spring was later than our original calendar had it laid out for, in terms of engaging this opportunity to rebrand. This is an important one. This is a big college-wide. This is our introductory presentation to this whole thing, and we haven't brought it up in earnest in over a year now. We were playing with it and trying to put it on trying to figure out what part of the agenda, what timing of the agenda, when we can get it on the appropriate time for consideration and so forth. Just know that there's a lot of due diligence that has to take place here. We've been talking for years now, in anticipation of the South Side coming on, that the opportunity of being east of what, west of what, using those directional types of things, were going to hurt us in the long run. And this is an opportunity to really take the opportunity to focus and give it some sincere consideration. This is a college-wide process. We want to engage stakeholders. We want to engage community stakeholders. We're certainly going to take deep dives into the college. I know I've been talking to history faculty for some time who are very involved in the Texas Historical Society and other things, and those groups and so forth, and to really look at this. But we want to begin opening the discussion. Today is again a chance for us to engage you all, to begin thinking about it. I think some of you all, at least a couple or maybe more of y'all, three of y'all will recall these conversations going way back. We want to move ahead on this. This is the time. As we're opening that new campus and focusing on that, there's lots of things that'll be impacted. A lot of branding, a lot of signage, and all these other sorts of things need to be considered as we're building these new signs and entryways and all of these other things. So that's not necessarily what's driving it, although there are some contributing factors to having a new campus to do this. This will not happen overnight. This will be as Lorette is describing, this will roll out over a period of time. But again, it's critical work. It'll take us all. Ultimately, what we'll come up with will come to the board for consideration of final approval before we ever move forward. Do you have any questions for me? I'm glad.
I think this is a good place to have some board discussion around this process. What I'd like to do is let Lorette finish these next two slides, which include some more information on their proposed phase one, and then we'll open it up for some board discussion. If that's okay with board members? Okay?
Excellent, thank you. Next slide, please. So what exactly does a college rebranding process include? In order to market our newest campus effectively, we will need to first establish a name for the campus. So this opens up the opportunity, like Dr. Escamilla just said, for the college to enhance its existing brand platform and include a more holistic process that would ensure college-wide branding is consistent across all of our campuses. The process will include developing a distinctive sub-brand naming convention for the new Southside campus, as well as developing distinctive sub-brands for the existing East and West campuses. And this will allow the college an opportunity to explore new branding distinctions outside of the current directional sub-brands of East and West. The process will also include the possible update of the college's logo and tagline, specifically here this icon circled in red, as to reflect a more contemporary and forward-facing brand. It will not include changing the name of the college or changing the college mascot name or likeness. Next slide, please. So what would the timeline look like to get us through this phase one? Here is a suggested timeline that takes us through next August and includes establishing a rebranding process, completing that process, and then, of course, making that final selection for the sub-brands. In February of next year, I can come back to the board and present a recommended draft process for board feedback. And from there, we can move forward with the process, which will include soliciting both internal and external input from our various stakeholders throughout March and April. And we do anticipate that group input is going to look a little bit different than what we've experienced in the past, of course, due to COVID-19. We're looking forward to thinking kind of outside of the box and providing a variety of digital ways for interaction. More to come on that in February. We will then provide stakeholder input and suggestions to the creative services concepting team for development. In June, we hope to present 3 concepts to the board and then narrow those selections down to 2 to take back out for final stakeholder feedback. And then this should put us on track for a vote for the final names by August of 2021. And this will provide the time needed to actively market the new campus and for facilities to order any necessary signage, etc. Next slide, please. For phase 2, we're going to focus on.
Lorette.
Is this where you wanted to jump in? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Lorette. Yeah, let's
All right, perfect.
let the Regents have some discussion on this phase 1 before we jump into phase 2. So, Olivia,
Absolutely.
I noticed that your mic was open earlier. Did you have a comment?
My question was answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Regent Bennett?
I just need a little clarification. The 2020 facility programming data, it says we have 465,400 adults in the service area, and we serve 2% of them. That gives me a number of about 9,308. What is that? Is that full-time equivalent? What is that number?
What number are you what number are you asking about?
It says we have 465,400 adults,
Slide 41.
and we service 2% of them.
Okay. Hang on.
Going back to
So
the,
that'd be,
The 400 adults, that is census data, actually, that was provided in the facility programming data. And so that's for all of the adults in the service area, and we currently are serving 2% of that. Is that what your question is stemming around?
is because that comes up to 9,308. And is that full-time equivalent? Or is that total headcount? What does that number represent?
This number just represents adult population in our service area, period.
Hang on.
So what would the 2% represent?
So
Is
that
it
would be the
total
credit,
headcount?
that's the credit side of the enrollment is what that is. Because if you don't, I mean, that number is going to be, on that, I think that's I know what you're saying. It's not a number that is close to 12. The 2%, it could be, I'd have to go back in and double check. We all know that the credit side of the enrollment is consistently above 10,500 to 12,000, and that's not the same number there. And so it's a number that came from facilities programming group. We'd have to verify. I think it's a little low. I would agree with you, Mr. Bennett. It's not accurate. Because it's not even including, percentage-wise, we typically don't, and here we go again, include the percentages of both the credit and the non-credit side, which would be substantially more. We'll verify that number. That number's not
Yeah,
accurate.
that one confused me, and it's pretty aggressive to think that we're going to have a 50% increase. And I'm just wondering, have we ever served 3%? Because I've done a lot of research on this,
Yes.
and I don't see many community colleges serving 3%.
Yeah, we've been having this conversation a long time, you and I agree. I
Yeah.
understand, and again, we got to look at the holistic side of of our services here, which is greater than both of these numbers here. And so when you start talking about the 20+ thousand people that we serve in both credit and non-credit, really, that's our mission. That's where the state data continues to I think is getting ready to change and incorporate that broader number. But if you're speaking to specifically on that credit side, moving to, again, these data aren't completely accurate now that I look into them like you are. We'll have to recheck all these and verify. But again, the numbers are greater than this when we continue to look at our broader mission of both credit and non-credit students, both credit, I should say, continuing education students here at the campus. And I'll have to get back with you and verify. So this is a little fuzzy on that, actually shooting low. But to answer your question, you know, bringing that number of students, this is something that I alluded to earlier. There's a whole generation of students on that side of town that frankly rarely get a chance to visually see, have ever gotten, these are old conversations that I'm resurrecting here, or ideas anyway. Those students have not grown up with a Del Mar College in their neighborhood and a Del Mar College in their site on a regular basis. If they're not picking it up through social media, they're certainly not picking it up through driving by and identifying with an institution. They're doing that with their new high schools, they're doing that with their new middle schools, and even their elementary schools. This is going to be an opportunity to engage that new generation on the south side. The other piece of all that is that new generation is in middle school right now. And when we go back to one of our goals of increasing our matriculation rate from dual credit, out of dual credit into Del Mar College, from a 35 to 45% as a goal, you know, that these are all stated intentions of moving those students over for their premier opportunity as of post-secondary education. When you factor in through the marketing plan and by just way of basic facts of affordability for those first 2 years of opportunity, and you have this state-of-the-art facility, whether it's here on east, over there at west, or on south, when we put all that together and really begin focusing and advancing that message to the community, there's our opportunity. And it's going to be on both the credit and the continuing education side.
Okay, I just want to make sure we don't establish unrealistic goals and subject ourselves to immediate failure.
Now, understood. Understood.
Something on the number?
Yeah, hang on. Understood, Mr. Bennett, and we'll refine those numbers.
If I might
Thank you.
If I might jump in here, so I think part of the issue is that in defining the 465,000 plus adults, it's population ages 18 through 64, so it does not include any dual credit students in that number. So I think
Yes.
what the more important point out of this discussion is for us to clearly define the metrics in which we're talking about goals for the South Campus as well as goals for our overall enrollment related to full-time equivalent, unduplicated head count. What metric are you talking about? And let's making sure that we are understanding the age range as well. So I think that may be part of where the discrepancy comes in, is if you're not counting 2,500, almost 3,000 dual credit students because your population base in this description starts at 18. So that could be part of the confusion.
Yes, ma'am, and understood, and I would also add that the definitions are changing at the state at the same time, so there's a lot going on at the same time, and that's going to take a little bit of time, so duly noted.
Okay. So going back to the concept of a rebranding process, are there questions or comments related to this phase one of the rebranding process? in this workshop format, this would be our opportunity to provide some direction or questions or comments to staff so that they know they are aligned with board intent on this particular topic. I'll have one I'll throw out there, and I'll continue to keep an eye out for microphones that open up. I appreciate the fact that you're clearly defining that the name of the college is not going to change and those kinds of things. And I also appreciate the fact that you're looking at what that sub-branding might look like for the existing East and West campus. I think there are a number of opportunities to learn from best practices from a number of multi-campus entities, both in higher education and healthcare, et cetera, who are successful at keeping an overall brand, and then also in doing those sub-brands. So I like that idea a lot. And I think there's some great opportunities there, not the least of which is the Momentum campus at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, for example. So I think there's some great opportunities there. I would like, from my perspective, when you bring the plan back, and I'm sure you're doing this, but I'm just going to say it, to really understand the broad base of stakeholders, because you're talking about the potential in changing these sub-brand namings of the campuses. So alumni, donors, neighbors, current students, prospective students. I mean, there's obviously faculty and staff and even retirees. There's a lot of folks who have a lot of energy and connectedness to our current namings of those campuses. And so just wanted to make sure that we extend the opportunity, maybe not formalize focus groups and those kinds of things, but we at least have an opportunity for as many people as possible to express interest through guided survey, online survey kinds of questions, if then, whatever. But I think Lorette and her team can really give an opportunity for a really broad-based input there.
Understood. And in preliminary discussions over the past few years, I've been comforted to find that there's not a lot of people in love with East or West or South, and so there's some relatively low-hanging fruit there and great opportunities to move into the next the next phase of the college's life and life cycle. So duly noted. This is going to be it's going to be tough with the online environment that we're in, and it's going to be a little less engaged, and those are the kinds of things that I miss. As I think we've been talking about this morning, that's been the theme. So we look forward to that opportunity.
Any other comments or questions on this Phase 1 proposal? Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. All right, next slide. For Phase 2, we will focus on increasing the public awareness of the new campus. So once the rebranding is complete, then we can begin the creative concepting for an integrated marketing campaign. And so here's just a sampling of the groups that we will be reaching out to and to the various communication methods that we can use to reach them. We'll focus on the general public, current students, prospective students, the media, and then of course we'll utilize various communication channels such as our website, social media, text messaging, and then of course social media campaigns. This phase will continue through the campus opening and then of course beyond. Next slide, please. In Phase 3 of the plan, we will narrow our focus and begin targeting prospective students with clearly defined recruitment tactics. So at this point, we will have all of the programs finalized. We'll even have a listing of the courses with numbers and descriptions that are going to be offered in the fall. So some examples of the tactics include sending targeted direct mail to zip codes surrounding the Southside area that contains specific programmatic information with registration deadlines, financial aid information, etc. Additionally, we can use geo-targeting to deliver online digital content promoting registration and specific program offerings. And geo-targeting is actually a type of advertising that uses location data to reach prospective and or current students with unique content that's appropriate, to their location and behaviors. Next slide, please. And then, of course, phase 4 is the maintenance phase of the plan, and that includes monitoring our data, our results, our feedback. And part of this phase will include a continual review of the marketing data, including the review of our fall 2022 registration analytics, reviewing our website traffic to key Southside-related landing pages, and reviewing data and engagement from our online and social media ads. Next slide, please. So what are the next steps? To move this forward, we will need to implement phase 1 of the plan, which for the immediate means presenting a recommended rebranding process for review at the February board meeting. Along with that will be the identification of the key internal and external stakeholders that will be included in the process that you just mentioned, Regent Scott, as well. Next slide, please. So at this time, I'm open to any feedback or any questions that you might have.
Regents, anything else? I want to thank Dr. Silva and Dean Dominguez and Ms. Williams for your work in putting together this presentation. It's very enlightening, and this is certainly one of those areas in which, in the Carver governance model, you realize all the things that happen, that the board sets direction, but staff is busy doing 1,000 things a day that we could never in a lifetime manage, and which is why, again, governance is set up the way it is. So we appreciate this glimpse into all of the activity and all the things that go on inside our recruitment and outreach programs. Ms. Hutchison?
I would just echo what you just said. I thought the presentation was very clear, and I appreciated the targets and the goals, and I look forward to going back to those. I think it's a good baseline. Thank you all.
I'd just like to say, if I may, baseline. I like that word, Regent Hutchinson, because that's exactly what this is. We intend to come back with a official plan that is actually the SEM protocols that we'll be following, and it'll be more formalized. And again, I'd like to also thank the staff for not only putting this together, but all the things that they do on a regular basis. Coming from student services myself, having touched just virtually every one of these aspects of the college at one point prior to my arrival here at Del Mar College, it's a great place to be. It's a great service, and it is absolutely a necessary complement to what happens in the classroom. All those touch points outside are so important, and that's what this is all about. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Regents, for this opportunity.
Thank you. Regents, we are going to, as we have in our past practice. Wait, what time is it? Never mind.
47.
I was looking at the clock on the wall, which is not correct. So we are going to go ahead and take our lunch break now, and then we will come back into our regular session starting at 1 p.m. So with no further business in this workshop, our meeting is adjourned at 11:48 a.m.